Hi, this is Amy from the Alti store. I just did a video showing you the difference between using a 60 cell 20 volt solar panel and a 70 cell 24 volt solar panel to charge a 24 volt battery with a PWM charge controller. So I'm going to do the same thing but with an MPPT charge controller. So now I'm using the Midnight Kid, and this is a MPPT charge controller. So I've got my cheat sheet. I've got a Canadian Solar 280 watt panel that's 72 cells, so it's 24 volts. And I've got a Solar World 275 watt panel, 60 cell. So it is very hot out, so the voltage of these solar panels has dropped dramatically. And you can check out that other video. I was showing you some of the voltages there because of the heat. But what I want you to remember is that that battery manufacturers recommend about 28.8 volts to charge a sealed battery. So let's see what we get with these solar panels. And I do apologize about the wind, it just kicked up. So we're starting with a 24 volt solar panel. I've got it connected to the Midnight Kid, and it is charging the battery. So I can look and I see coming out of that solar panel, I've got 30.6 volts. Now that's just a little bit higher than what the recommended 28.8 volts was for charging my charge controller. It's getting a little later in the day, so the sun isn't as intense as it was earlier, but I think this is still really good to see. So we've got 30.5 volts going into the charge controller, 27.79 volts coming out, and 7.1 amps. Now when I was doing this earlier, when it was actually midday, I was actually seeing about 6 amps coming out. So the MPPT charge controller is certainly boosting the output of this panel and getting my maximum output. So now let's switch this around and see what outputs we get using the 60 cell 20 volt solar panel. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I've got the 20 volt solar panel, and again this is a 275 watt solar panel versus the 280 watt. So very similar. But the big difference is it's putting out a lower voltage because it only has 60 cells. So if we take a look, it's putting out about 30.5 volts into the charge controller, 26.3 volts into the battery, 5 amps. So I'm getting a full amp less from this 20 volt solar panel than from the 24 volt solar panel. And I mean, that's significantly more of a change than you would see just because of that 5 watt difference in their rating. So I am absolutely not getting as good power out of my 20 volt solar panel into a 24 volt battery. They really do prefer to be matched up nicely, even with an MPPT charge controller. An MPPT charge controller can take a higher voltage and drop it down to a lower voltage battery, but most MPPT charge controllers, with a couple of specialty ones that are exceptions, they need to have a higher voltage going into the battery. So it's ever so slightly higher. Look, I'm dropped down to 29.8 volts. So it's a little bit higher than where the battery bank wants to be charging at. Again, AGM wants to be charging up around 28.8 volts. So I barely have the voltage, and this is really full sun. If a cloud were to go by, I would not have higher voltage. I would probably have higher voltage in the battery than in my solar panel. So it really does make a difference of having a 24 volt 72 cell or two 12 volt 36 cell panels wired in series to make your 24 volts. If this was winter time, it would probably not be as bad, because when it is cold, the silicon voltage goes up in the solar panel. So it would probably work better in the winter, but in the summer when it's hot, it's probably well in the 80s right now. The voltage of these solar panels really drops down and just doesn't efficiently charge these batteries. If this was a flooded battery, it wants to be up around 31 volts. So I'm really not going to be able to give it a good full charge with a 20 volt solar panel. So while it looks like, yeah, everything's cool, it's charging, it's not going to give it that really big top off. It's going to be at risk of being in a partial state of charge, which most batteries do not like to be. So while it will appear that it's working okay, you're going to shorten the life of your batteries. So just important note to keep in mind, 72 cells for a 24-volt battery. This is Amy from the Alti Store. I hope this was helpful. If so, give us a like and a share, and be sure to subscribe to our Alti Store channel so we'll send you notification when we've got new videos. And make sure to go to our website at altistore.com, where we've been making renewable doable since 1999.